Hey guys, this is Anime Ball Z here, and today we're going to be doing the fourth part of What If Deku had the Quirk efficient. You guys have clearly been showing the support, so I'm just going to continue doing this What If. You guys like watching it, I like making it, so what's the point of stopping? There's nothing much else I want to say, so without further ado, let's get into the video.
Slick talker since a jet. Winter time, all the time, ooh, yeah. Look at the way that I move, swag. Disrespectful and I'm rude, okay. I had cocaine in the school.
When Deku is on the train, he is not only recognized, but people are asking for a signature from him. Deku decides to write Limelight instead of his actual name, and people love it. Deku gets many nominations, way more than that of Bakugo and Todoroki. No one is surprised though. Deku decides to make his hero name Limelight as well because everyone already calls him that. All Might still recommends Gran Torino to Deku, who had already nominated him to work with him. Deku says, why not just go to a big agency? All Might says he knows a lot about One For All. I see that other kids are catching up and I'm sure you want to use your power to its full potential. Deku thinks, if I regulate One For All like the first physical enhancement and use it with the first physical enhancement, it could prove to be very strong. It might even be stronger than the second physical enhancement. Deku says, okay, I'll do it. When Deku meets Gran Torino, he doesn't mistake him for Toshinori and knows Deku very well from the national news of him. Gran Torino says, I know how strong you can be with your quirk, but you must control One For All to make you stronger. Now see if you can fight me with just One For All. Deku then zooms at him and uses One For All, but Gran Torino dodges just about. Gran Torino says, you're faster than me, but very predictable. Deku tries to kick him into the roof, but he flips forward and dodges the attack. He then starts zooming across the room, but Deku can track all of his movements because of the superior speed he has in this What If. Gran Torino says, good, you can even track these movements, you are no joke kid. Deku says, I can't control my One For All, it hinders my speed because I have to concentrate, I just need to use it all over. The One For All streaks appear all over his body and then green lightning starts to trickle all over him. Gran Torino goes in to attack Deku, but Deku grabs his leg and swivels him to the floor with minimal movement. Gran Torino lands on his feet and says, good, Limelight. He leaps up to him and Deku ducks under the kick and punches him into the roof. Gran Torino lands and says, you are clearly stronger than I, and you have control. If you learn to mix the two halves of your power, you will be a very formidable fighter. As you can see, Deku is no joke at all. That night, Deku goes to try and combine his powers. He regulates One For All across his body, and as he tries to use the first physical enhancement, the One For All just disappears. Deku thinks, I need to focus. Deku opens his eyes and they glow green. He clenches his fists and uses the first physical enhancement. He then tries to use One For All over this and the first physical enhancement just disappears as well. Deku thinks, well okay then, let's see how straining the second physical enhancement is. His pupils disappear and his skin goes more red. Gushes of wind release from around him and his hair darkens. He says, okay, this is it. It's so draining though, it's like I'm sprinting. He zooms forward then leaps up. The shockwave released causes a lot of the trash bags to just rip. When I mean trash bags, I just mean the trash bags that are laying around the alleyway that he's in currently. I'll show a picture of where he is right now and you'll understand what I mean. Deku lands and the floor cracks. He says, nothing can contain the forces that I create, I swear. Deku reverts to his base and says, wow, that form is really strong. I need to get the combination form in control first though. It could be even stronger and probably requires less stamina. Deku the next day prepares a taiyaki and doesn't put in the microwave plate right like usual. Deku starts to think, maybe if I use less One For All, maybe like 2%. I can use the first physical enhancement as well. Deku stands and uses One For All across his body. It causes a weak trickling of green lightning around his body, just like when he used it the last day. Deku's first physical enhancement slowly creaks through and as this happens his eyes glow bright. This is because both of these forms cause his eyes to glow, so when they merge, it causes them to glow very brightly. His clothes start to flow from his aura and gusts of wind, and he gets a glimpse of this combination transformation. When the power fades, he pants hard and Gran Torino says, good, you are making progress, young Midoriya. Deku gets up and says, how long will it take until I can handle that? Gran Torino says, not long. Adrenaline right now will definitely give you the access to this form. You see how powerful it is with just a fraction of One For All's power. All you need now is training. Deku nods and listens. Now let's get to the scene in the train. As the pro hero goes smashing through the train, Deku is signing his autograph for people. Deku turns abruptly, then sees the Nomu. He isn't holding back because of his rage towards these creatures. He controls One For All into his arm and punches the Nomu right in its face. This force is enough to just completely explode the Nomu's head and kill it. He gets the pro hero up, then both Deku and Gran Torino zoom from the bullet train into the city to help. Deku uses his first physical enhancement and leaps over the city tower roofs looking around. He sees Tenya and Stain in the distance fighting. Deku zooms at top speed, and when he reaches Stain, he lands a devastating kick to his face. He slams into the floor, then goes flying away. Deku says to Tenya, "Are you okay?" He says, "No, just go. This is my business, not yours." Deku smiles and says, "Then get up." Tenya says, "Shut up and go." Deku says, "No, I'll save you." He zooms up the wall, then zooms down to Stain. He manages to punch him, but Stain manages to cut at him and use one of his swords to tank some of the punch force. Deku flies into the floor and is unable to move from Stain's paralyzation quirk. Deku says, "What's this?" Stain says, "That is my quirk. You won't be able to move for a while, kid." Deku says, "You saw how fast I was. Once I'm out of this, I'm making no mistakes." Stain says laughingly, "Then come and do it." He swings his sword, then goes in to stab Tenya, but Todoroki comes in at the last second to blaze him with a wave of fire. Todoroki says, "How did you send out so much info in such a short time, Izuku?" Deku says, "Fast fingers, I guess." Todoroki says, "That damn quirk of yours." He creates an ice arrow, then throws it. Stain perfectly bisects the arrow and the two pieces go beside him. Todoroki says, "Now you're fighting me." He flies up with his fire and tries to punch Stain, but he dodges. He then softens his fall with a road of ice. Stain slashes through the ice and aims his sword at Todoroki. Todoroki launches a gush of fire at him, then throws his ice arrow. Stain slams into the wall and gets stabbed by the ice arrow. Todoroki then releases a large amount of ice to stop Stain from moving. His ice road melts and he sighs. Todoroki then sees the ice crack. Deku says, "What?" The ice completely breaks and Stain is released. He aims his sword at Todoroki and Todoroki tries to get out of the way, but he just can't. He gets cut, then Stain tries to lick his blood. However, Deku comes zooming in and kicks the tip of the sword off. He grabs Stain by the neck and throws him at insane speeds. He bangs into the wall, then falls back to the floor. Deku clenches his fists and closes his eyes to focus. His One For All green lightning trickles around him, then as he opens his eyes, his irises and pupils are gone. This is the combination form he strived to gain. Todoroki says, "What's that?" Deku's pupils and irises return, then he says, "This is my new form. See if you can catch up now." Tenya gets up, then Deku says, "Grab my hand." Tenya scoffs, then agrees. Deku zooms with his own speed and Tenya increases their speed with the reciproburst. They zoom at speeds of above 350 miles per hour and Tenya kicks Stain in the head while Deku punches him in the stomach. Because Deku and Tenya didn't actually put any force into their attacks, it only causes heavy injury to Stain. Stain goes flying back and slams into the building across the street. Deku gets rid of his combination transformation and starts panting. Tenya says, "Thank you, Deku, but my leg is broken." Todoroki runs over to Tenya and ices up his leg. "Think of it as an ice pack," Todoroki says. Deku laughs and gets Tenya onto his shoulder. Tenya says, "Am I too heavy? I can just hop." Deku says, "I can run at 140 miles per hour without using any enhancement, and you're asking me if you're too heavy? I'll be fine." Tenya says, "Thank you guys, I know it had nothing to do with you, but you still came and helped me." When the winged Nomu comes, Deku at super speed lays Tenya onto Todoroki, then grabs it by the leg. He swings it into the tower wall, then rips it from the wall and slams it into the floor. He controls One For All and punches it once and it just dies. Deku stands up and dusts off his hands. Todoroki says, "How did you do that?" Deku says, "I've always been able to do that, what do you mean?" Todoroki says he was not that fast in the sports festival and he didn't use any of those physical enhancements. He was holding back in the sports festival because he couldn't have gotten that fast in such a short time. He clenches his fist in frustration, then calms down and says, "You really are strong, Izuku, but I won't give up. I will surpass you." The whole thing with them being told about not using their quirks without a license still happens, and it goes the same way. For the Foundational Hero Studies race, Deku just completely destroys them. Without any physical enhancements, he zooms across the construction site with ease. He's even pulling off inhuman flips, like flipping 10 times before landing just a few meters down on thin beams. His leaping ability as well is also very inhuman. He can long jump tens of meters with ease. Deku zooms towards the finish line and finishes at first with ease. People aren't surprised that he won, but are surprised with his new body control. Deku could have never been able to do such flips on thin beams in the past. This is because of his speed. He is so fast that it is really hard for him to do flexible and agile movements without falling or getting himself hurt. After the fight, he learned to focus and do more flexible movements while running very fast. So that will conclude the 4th part of What If Deku Had the Quirk Efficient. No light goal, as I've said in the past. I'll just continue making these What If parts for you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.